The digital brain, long-term impacts of phone usage. We live in an era of constant connection. Our smartphones have become indispensable tools, helping us work, learn, and stay in touch. But as we integrate these devices deeper into our daily lives, science is beginning to uncover a less visible side effect: the profound impact they are having on the physical structure and function of our brains. Today, we are going to explore what happens to our minds when we spend too much time on our phones. We will look at the effects on adults first, and then examine why this issue is potentially even more critical for children and teenagers, whose brains are still under construction. We will specifically look at a vital part of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, and see how research is linking its health to our screen habits. Many people believe that once we reach adulthood, our brains are finished developing and remain fixed in structure. But this is not true. The brain possesses a property called neuroplasticity. It is constantly changing, rewiring itself, and adapting to the environment we expose it to. Every habit we repeat, every skill we learn, and every behavior we practice physically alters the connections inside our heads. So what happens when the habit we practice most is scrolling, swiping, and reacting to notifications? Researchers are particularly interested in a region called the anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC for short. Located deep in the frontal lobe, right between the emotional center and the logical center, the ACC acts like a control tower. It is responsible for decision-making and planning, error detection and correction, regulating our emotions, and most importantly, impulse control. Studies using magnetic resonance imaging have revealed some worrying findings. Research published in journals like Frontiers in Psychiatry and Cortex has shown that individuals who engage in excessive or problematic smartphone use often show measurable differences in this specific area. Specifically, heavy users tend to have reduced gray matter volume in the ACC. Gray matter is where the processing happens. It contains the nerve cells. When the volume is reduced, it suggests that the efficiency of this control tower is compromised. Furthermore, studies have observed changes in the folding patterns of this cortex. The complexity of the folds is linked to cognitive ability. When these structures are altered, it becomes harder for the brain to inhibit automatic responses and resist immediate gratification. What does this mean in real life? It means that over time, excessive phone use can make it harder to concentrate on complex tasks. It can make us more impulsive, less patient, and more prone to emotional swings. Because the ACC is also linked to motivation and anticipation, changes here can create a cycle where we feel compelled to check our phones constantly, seeking that next hit of stimulation. This isn't just about willpower. It is becoming a physical change in the hardware of the mind. Additionally, we see what psychologists call cognitive offloading. Because we rely on our phones to remember dates, names, and directions, our own hippocampus, the memory center, gets less exercise, potentially weakening our natural ability to retain information over the long term. If the fully matured adult brain is vulnerable to these changes, then the developing brain of a child is exponentially more so. Between birth and the mid-20s, the brain is undergoing a massive construction project. It is building billions of connections, pruning away unused pathways, and strengthening the ones that are used most often. This period of high plasticity is amazing for learning, but it also means the brain is highly susceptible to environmental influences. Whatever a child experiences frequently leaves a deep, lasting imprint. Here is the critical point. The anterior cingulate cortex, along with the rest of the prefrontal cortex, is one of the very last areas of the brain to fully mature. It doesn't finish developing until a person is in their early 20s. This means that when a child uses a phone excessively, they are not just using a tool. They are potentially shaping the very structure that is supposed to help them control their impulses and manage their emotions later in life. Research supports this concern. A landmark study published in JAMA Pediatrics tracked children over several years. It found that those who used screens for more than 2 hours a day performed worse on thinking and reasoning tests. Furthermore, children who started using devices heavily before the age of 3 showed measurable delays in brain development by the time they reached school age. Another extensive study conducted in Japan, tracking over 70,000 students for a decade, found that those spending more than 3 hours daily on phones showed stagnant development in key areas. Even if they studied hard, The high screen usage seemed to impact the efficiency of their white matter, the cables that connect different parts of the brain. Why is it so damaging? It comes down to chemistry and speed. Apps and games are designed to trigger the release of dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. They provide instant feedback, bright colors, and unpredictable rewards. For a developing brain, this creates a powerful reinforcement loop. The brain learns to crave this high-speed stimulation. Consequently, slower activities that require patience, like reading a book, having a long conversation, or solving a complex problem, start to feel boring or frustrating. The brain literally rewires itself to prefer the digital rush. The consequences are wide-ranging. Excessive phone use in children has been linked to shorter attention spans, increased rates of anxiety and depression, poor sleep quality due to blue light and mental stimulation, and delays in social skills as face-to-face interaction is replaced by screen time. Unlike adults, children do not have the fully developed ACC to tell them, "Stop now, this is enough." They are driven by curiosity and reward, not long-term consequence. Therefore, the environment we provide for them directly builds their brain architecture. If we provide an environment dominated by screens, that is the architecture their brains will adopt. So, the evidence paints a clear picture. Excessive phone usage is not harmless entertainment. It is an experience that physically changes our brains. In adults, we see changes in the anterior cingulate cortex that affect impulse control and focus. In children, because their brains are still growing, these effects can be more dramatic, more persistent, and potentially alter their trajectory for life. However, this is not a story of doom and gloom. Remember the concept of neuroplasticity? If the brain can change for the worse based on bad habits, it can also change for the better. We have the power to shape our own brains and those of our children. By setting boundaries, taking digital breaks, and ensuring that technology serves us rather than masters us, we can protect the health of our minds. Use technology, but do not let it use you. Your brain is the most powerful computer in the universe. Treat it with care. If you like useful information such as this, like and subscribe for similar content.